Hey guys, today we're going to be doing a replay analysis of, what is this? It's around 4K. Essentially Ancient 1 on everyone. Haven't done one of these in a while. I don't know why these aren't loading. Pretend we don't know what just happened. Actually, doesn't matter. So we're going to be looking at Mirana here, playing the 4 position. So right off the bat, let me close this. There was a nerf. It's very recent. That small patch. Nerf to Mirana. Where's my camera? Nerf to Mirana. Nerf to Ring of Basilius. I can't comprehend where my camera is. Those two kind of changed the hero. The hero is still in a positive win rate because of her overall kit, but it weakened her. I don't like this Ring of Basilius start. Having said that, I haven't watched a bunch of pros and checked their starting items on Mirana. I've just kind of been doing my own thing after it changed. The reason I don't like the starting Ring of Basilius is because you only have 3 tangos, and the reason Ring of Basilius was good before was because you could start Sage Mask, finish it in the shop. So we had an extra 175 gold, so you could get like 2 tangos and then like Clarity or like a Fairy Fire or something, and then finish up the Ring of Basilius once you get to lane. It would give you 8 damage, 2 armor, and some mana regen. You only used a bit of mana when you fire arrow every now and then, so it's like pretty good for you, especially if you get like 1 clarity. And then the damage is really nice because you have a good auto attack animation, long range, and leap was really good. It was 60 attack speed every time you used it. Now it's much worse, only 25, and you now have to trade away like the extra tango, the extra clarity, whatever, to be able to start Ring of Basilius. So personally, I just think it doesn't pay off for a hero like Mirana as much. In fact, the only hero right now that I'm starting Ring of Basilius is Invoker, because Quas gives you so much regen that I think you can get away with just 1 tango and a Ring of Basilius. But on Mirana, I don't like it, especially because in this game, 2 reasons. Furthermore, in this game, we're assuming you're the 4, so you're going to go into this lane here, and you're going to be against Treant or Skywrath. It's kind of hard to tell because they're both technically position 4s or 5s. Well, technically, I think they should both be position 4s, but this is a pub game, so you get what you get. And both of them, you don't want to start with very little regen. Against Skywrath, he's going to spam you out before you can spam him out. He actually has really low armor, so technically if you land an arrow and then auto-attack him with your Ring of Basilius, that's pretty good for you. But what's more likely going to happen... Let's switch to free camera. I'm going to do a lot of talking at the start because the beginning lane actually decides a lot of the game. So I want to like... This is all information that going into a game, I have thought about, and it determines my starting items and determines everything else. And so that's why I talk a lot at the start of games. And I'm sorry that it kind of like sits around and it's a little boring. But this is what's going to happen. You're going to be like playing here. Skywrath is going to be playing here. We're assuming Skywrath 5 right now. And you're going to see each other. Skywrath's Q, where is he? Oh, we can't see it because I'm in this, like... Skywrath's Q, he hasn't leveled it up yet. Okay, but the range is, like, something like this, I think. I don't play that much Skywrath, so I don't know it specifically. But essentially, it outranges your auto attack, I'm pretty sure. And if not, even if it's the same, it's better, because he'll get off an auto attack and a Q for every auto attack you do. Which means that he's going to out-trade you over here. You're going to stand here, he's going to stand here, he's going to see you, he's going to Q, and maybe you both auto-attack each other once. He's coming out ahead, and then you'll only have 3 tangos, and he'll probably also have very little regen because that's kind of how you play Skywrath, but it kind of benefits him more because he's a 5, and he's winning a trade with a 4. Let's say it's Treant instead. Treant has really high base damage, so the armor reduction from the Basilius is not as effective because what he's going to do is he's going to punch you like once or twice. He's going to get 60 damage from his Q, and then he's starting an Orb of Venom, so he's going to get 15 more damage from that, and then he has almost 100 damage. So we'll reduce that a little bit. What, your starting armor? 18. So reduce this by 20%, it's like 70 damage. Okay, 70 damage plus 60 reduced by your magic resist. So we'll say it's about 40. It's a little more than that. Plus this 15 here. So essentially, he does twice your auto attack damage every time he comes out of Invis and punches you once. Every time he punches you once, that's pretty much punches you once and then punches you a second time when you try to back away, that is one of your tangos. He does that 3 times and you're out of regen. And you try to auto attack him once. He has some regen. He's tankier than you because he's a strength hero. And frankly, he's just going to keep backing away and coming at you invis. So you're not going to get the benefit of just auto-attacking him. And you're not going to see him walking in because you can't start with a sentry because you bought all your gold in this. That was a long way to say that I don't like this starting build. So what should you have started? What would I have started this game? Looking at their heroes, Meepo is a hero that justifies Spirit Vessel on his own. There's a couple heroes like that, like Huskar, Timbersaw. It's pretty much, if that hero is on the enemy team, you have to have Spirit Vessel. Or Ancient Apparition on your team. You don't have Ancient Apparition on your team, and even if you did, I would still tell you to get a Spirit Vessel, because it's really good against Meepo. You just need to kill one of his clones, and they're all healing each other with the new Ransack. So it gets very tough to kill him unless you have some way to like stop his healing or burst, and really you just want as many things as you can get, because a pub Meepo is scary. You know, this guy is either like a smurf or he's someone that likes playing Meepo, and frankly it's hard to stop Meepos in pubs unless they're really bad. You know, even an average Meepo for his MMR, like, it's very hard to stop it, just the way, like, you need to have multiple people on your team who know how to play against Meepo. So since that's unlikely to happen in the early laning stage, you need to counter it with items, and hopefully it works out. And Mirana, like, I actually think this is a good Mirana game overall. Against Meepo, it's quite nice because there's so many of them. It's easy to hit an arrow. Plus they have Poof, which is literally a standstill and channel spell. So it's very easy to hit Sacred Arrow. And PA is quite squishy until she gets a BKB, so if you land an arrow, your Star Storm will do a lot of damage to her. Good kill potential. Centaur, kind of a pain. You don't really do much to him, so he's not great. Skyrath, he's also quite squishy, both to your right clicks. I didn't mention right clicks against PA because she has evasion. He doesn't have that, so if you landed an arrow against him between your Star Storm and some right clicks, he's probably dead. Plus you have teammates, you know. And then Treant. Treant's kind of annoying for you because you can't leap if he roots you. And you honestly don't do that much damage against him. But if you're not rooted, like, he probably can't kill you on his own. And then if you're able to leap away from him, he alone is on the issue. But odds are he's rooting you, and that's setting up for, like, Meepo to come in or something. So that's kind of a pain. But Mirana against Meepo is quite nice, I think. It's a very good hero to stop him because you can roam into his early jungle and arrow him and stuff like that. And PA, all that, like, whatever. So it's like at least an okay Mirana game in my opinion. But Soul Vessel, I don't know how I got on that tangent of talking about whether it was a good Mirana game or not. I'm sorry about that. But Soul Vessel, Spirit Vessel against Meepo is good. It's also good against Centaur because he's very tanky. Treant is tanky. It's not usually worth it putting it on him because he's either a 4 or a 5, and that's like, why put a charge on him unless you've got a bunch of charges. But he does add a heal to his team, so it's nice to kind of counteract what he's doing. So we know we want a Soul Vessel, Spirit Vessel, whatever, a Spirit Vessel, and you essentially want it first item. Mirana's build is very flexible, so you decide what you need. And I'm telling you, you want a Spirit Vessel, camera somewhere, Spirit Vessel, and then you have an aura builder in terms of Underlord, so you probably don't have to get Greaves or Pipe. So after Spirit Vessel, you have an Earthshaker and a Rubik and the Root from Underlord, so you don't really need anyone to, or you don't need your own setup for arrow. So I would say a 4-staff is pretty good, so that when you get rooted and you can't leap, you can 4-staff yourself away and hopefully dodge some of these like chain Meepo nets. Or when someone gets rooted into the Skyrath ult combo, you can 4-staff them out of that. Any other item? Let's close this. Those are the two that are coming to mind right now. And honestly, as a 4 in most games, 2 items is about what you reach. So usually at the start of the game, I'm only thinking like 1 or 2 items in. And then as the game goes and you get a feeling for how long it's going to go, you kind of figure, okay, now what's the next thing? So let's stick with those 2 items. Other common Mirana items, Yules, Atos, those kind of set up your arrow, which I personally do not like, especially Yule's, because it's not that long of a cast range, and then like you're not really stunning a long time. And like I said, you have all these guys to set up your stuns, so I don't really think you need these two. And Yule's can get you out of this ult and the roots, but I think so can Force Staff, and then you can use that Force Staff on your teammates, which are really good. Okay. Finally starting. Player perspective. So where are you going? What am I doing? Closing this. Speed up a bit. I'm sorry, I forgot I forgot to finish my thoughts. So your starting items would be two tangos, a circlet to build into a urn really quickly, and then like 2 iron branches. So this would give you 4 starting stats, which would give you a good amount of health, good amount of mana and attack damage, 4 damage compared to the 8 from here. So it's not bad, and you get two tangos. That would leave you about 155 gold left, and then what you're gonna do there. So against Treant, if you knew you were against Treant, what I would tell you to do is actually start Quelling Blade. I play a lot of Treant, and it sucks when people do this. You start Quelling Blade, and you just start cutting all of these trees. Before the horn even starts, you just run down here, you cut this, then you cut all of these, then you cut all of these, and then when you lane, you like stand over here. And if you see Treant walk over here, you guys all shift over here. And level 1, Treant has no way to cross between these two without breaking his invis, which is a 10-second cooldown. So you see him try to cross and try to set up on this side, and then you just walk back over here. And it's so annoying as Treant. You're like super useless. And Mirana, I think, is one of the heroes that can actually start Quelling Blade, because she doesn't need that many items to be useful at the start. She can just keep right-clicking and being annoying. And then you eventually like cut all these trees, and then you don't even have to worry about getting into a sentry war because he just doesn't have any trees to play in. But the issue in this game is that you're not sure if Skywrath is in your lane, and if Skywrath is in your lane, you want a stick right away, which is why we're getting those 2 iron branches, because they give you some strength to survive, and because it'll help you build into a wand, which you want this game because these guys cast a lot of spells. So with your 155 extra gold, you're going to run into one of these lanes, see who's the support you're playing against, and then you're going to either buy a Quelling Blade or a Magic Stick. So you're coming top. I guess you guys want to try to get first blood. And I already know from looking at the summary that Rubik is going to start with Lift, which I think is awful. Lift is only 0.8 seconds at level 1. That is not a lot of time for you to set up an arrow. If anything, they're going to see the arrow coming in, so either he lifts, and this is about as far as your arrow can travel in 0.8 seconds, and it's not going to be a very long stun, like 1 second. And then he's stuck with Lift. The thing is like, even if you get a kill, he has Lift now, level 1. And if you continue tri-laning, he's going to be stuck with level 1 Lift for a while. Whereas he really wants Fade Bolt as a laning. I know this isn't, like, you're not the Rubik, so it doesn't specifically matter to you, but I would not want my Rubik to start with Lift and ruin his laning stage.
This ain't no snowball.
Now look, you almost hit it anyways. That'll never work. So see, now he's like lost this much mana for 36 seconds. Is it 36 or 32? 34. I was in between them. And it's not a good spell. In a tri-lane, especially, you would want Fade Bolt so that you guys can trade more effectively. It's like everyone got a Quelling Blade. Alright, what are you doing here? You gotta help him. I think you were like AFK or something, or typing or something. But that was like 3 auto attacks you can get off there. Alright. This guy doesn't have a sentry, right? Nope. Oh, he did. He placed it there already, though. Does Treant have one? He does not. Alright. I'll wait a second before... see how this works out. Alright, that worked out, because you managed to hit the arrow there. I don't love it, though. You just, like, sitting back here waiting for an arrow. It's kind of like a Pudge sitting in the back, just waiting to land a hook. I would rather be you out there, right-clicking with your Ring of Basilius, because you started with this for the 8 damage. And if you're not going to auto-attack and get it, then it's, like, there's no point. You know, with this Ring of Basilius, you've got about 55 damage. If factor in some resistance, so we'll say it's 40-ish. You know, every 4 attacks you do is essentially 1 tango. So if you auto-attack that treant 4 times, you've used up one of his tangos. 8 times, 2 tangos. 12 times, that was all his tangos. Because I'm pretty sure he only started with 3. Okay, a pull, though, that's good. That's what you're supposed to do in tri-lanes. You're supposed to be denying. There we go. Since you have 2 of you there, and you got a kill, one of you should be, like, farming while the other connects the pull. That would be more effective. I knew that was going to happen. I won't comment that much on it. I'm sure you realize that it's ideal to get the last hits. That's just something that play a bit more, play a lot, get the feel for it. I wouldn't waste your arrow on that at that point when it was already below half. I would just keep auto-attacking it because you're not doing anything right now. Alright, this is bad. You don't want to draw the creeps like this. If you forget about it and you pull them, you immediately have to run back into your lane. Like, look what just happened. This is, like, super bad. This guy just got over a full wave for free against a tri-lane. That's, like, really bad. The second you aggro these creeps here, you have to realize, I made a mistake. I immediately have to run back this way and de-aggro them and then run into the side shop to get your stuff. I would say that's more important than even like finishing the short distance here and then running back out like this. But if you at least did that, that would be better. But running through them this way just gave him a full wave when you guys are tri-laning, and that's like failed tri-lane right there immediately. At this point, it's kind of already like, let's stop tri-laning now. The lane is really important. In fact, like, I could probably stop most of the replays I do at 10 minutes, and that would be enough to focus on improving to, like, significantly increase your MMR. Even now, at 5.3, I'm still, like, nitpicking my laning. Like, I missed this one creep. I missed, like, this. I missed this deny. Like, the lane is really important. It sets up everything else. So, like, if you take nothing else from this video, take out that one creep thing you did right there. That was, like, very unideal. Okay, nice. I wasn't sure if you were gonna hit that arrow at first, but then he decided to channel poof right there because I guess he wanted the kill, and I guess he must not have a ward here. Just works in your favor. What are you looking for? Let's see. So you're looking to build arcanes. I'm okay with that. Actually, let me change that. I'm not okay with that because your build should be an urn. Look at you. You're on a good start. Let's say you still started this Basilius and realized, hey, I need an urn. You could even disassemble this Basilius to finish your urn faster and then finish your Basilius again, buying another iron ring. But if you don't want to do that, that's okay. Boots is alright. I don't mind boots. But essentially what I'm saying is you could have an urn right now if you started the build I told you to. Where is it? Circlet, 165. The urn is only 8... Where is it? 875. So essentially you need about 710 more gold, which you have about half of, over half right now. So if you had, say, not bought these boots, you could finish this urn, or be about to finish the urn, I guess. You don't need it immediately, but it's good to start building the soul charges right now. And this is kind of when you're like looking to get kills, early roaming phase. So I'm okay with the boots. I'm okay with Basilius if you want to do that, but I would build the urn before these arcane boots. And you're not a hero that blows mana constantly. You essentially fire an arrow, and if the arrow hits, then you commit some mana. But generally you have enough time between your like burst of spells that a Ring of Basilius plus the raindrops that you would be buying to build urn and a clarity if you want. That's enough to sustain you in between all of this. Plus, buying the raindrops early for the urn, even if you can't finish the full urn yet, is nice because then you can start using some of the defensive charges of raindrops. Let's see. What are you going to do? Actually, real quick, let's check net worth. This guy's ahead. He's not too far behind. Then you got that Meepo kill, which gave you a good amount of gold, I think. Actually, did you get both kills? Yeah, you did. Oops. What's happening right now? She's just farming for free? Why do I have that store open? My bad. Yeah. So there's not much you can do in this bottom lane because you guys tri-lane top and now they're tri-laning bottom and the two of you cannot beat the three of them. So you need a few more levels before you can really do too much. I think what I would be trying to do right now is I would spend my time around here. If there's a hotkey to switch between free cam and player perspective, someone tell me that. I would spend a lot of my time here if I was you right now. Because every time you guys want to go on this centaur, you come up through here, you have a chance to fire an arrow this way, and it's harder for him to see. Because you have to think, if he's playing centaur, this is his camera angle, right? So if an arrow comes from here, he has less time to react to it. Like, if his hero... Where is his hero right now? His hero is here based on the minimap. Which means odds are his camera is something like this. So if an arrow comes from over here, you have a higher chance of hitting him. You wait to see him like about to last hit something, you fire the arrow, he goes for the last hit, boom, gets hit by the arrow. Or Rubik lifts. He probably still only has level 1, so it's like 0.8 seconds, but I guess it's better than nothing, you know. But in the meantime, if you don't think you can get a kill potential, or he's sitting far behind, you just arrow one of his big creeps. Because, why? You don't do it on your side because then you leave 2 small creeps and your core goes to farm and he's like, there's only small creeps here, this isn't worth my time. So why do it on your side when you can do it on their side? You're a hero that is fast enough, they're tri-laning bottom, you're at very low risk of dying over here, just arrow his big creep here, arrow the big creep there, whatever it is. Or, potentially, stand over here, look over here, Meepo probably playing something like this, his camera's probably looking something like this, maybe a little further back. But Meepo players have an extra challenge of controlling 2 units. So, one Meepo's here, the other Meepo is over here, and he might, there's a good chance he's like looking between the 2 Meepos, which means it's harder for him to keep an eye out for arrows that are coming in, even if he has a ward set up. So if you're over here, and you have this Earthshaker who has multiple stuns, and you see him like poofing or something, you fire an arrow, you like tell your Earthshaker, I'm firing this arrow, make sure he doesn't move, stun him there or something, boom, like easy setup kills. And this way you slow down the Meepo. Meepo is your primary concern here, and you want to chase him around, you want to steal his jungle camps here and here. If you finish all the big creeps there, you know, transition your way over here, take these big creeps, looking for the Meepo kill, or just taking his farm. When you see him like standing here, he doesn't have a high kill potential on you yet because he doesn't have a blink. And his net is very slow, so if you see that coming, you just leap away. So just stand near him when he's trying to jungle, auto-attack him, annoy him, try to steal his last hits. If he goes on you, you leap away. Walk away first. You've got boots, and if he casts his net, then you leap. He might try to pull in the treant to come help him deal with you. That's okay for you. You're freeing up your bottom lane then, in that case. You're drawing the mid and a support to you. There's space creation. And right now, you're just kind of like level 2. Alright, here you come for Meepo. This is good. Except it's awkward because he fissured himself off. So that was the right idea, but it's kind of weird. Now you're in the mid lane instead of him. You should have been getting the runes ideally, but I mean, if he's gone, you should come get this. I just think it's weird he left like that, even if they're getting a kill top. Okay. He bottled you. That's very nice of him. I haven't noticed you turning this on or off. Granted, you haven't necessarily had to do that, but do consider it when you're like in a solo lane, like when you want to push or not. Against Meepo, I wouldn't say you have to.
Killing spree.
Okay, kill. Didn't even need to arrow. Oh, you turned it on there. Is that intentional? What's happening? Let's speed up a little.
Radiant's middle tower could use some help. Radiant's middle tower shouldn't have to take this abuse.
I think I would like this ward to be just a little bit more this way. Wait, can I? There we go. When Meepo farms this camp, he doesn't stand all the way in here, right? He stands like here. So if you want to see him, you only need this amount of vision. So you have about 100 units that you could have moved it like over here and still seen him jungling. Or we shift it this way a bit, you'll still see him jungling, you'll see him jungling this, and now you'll see him jungling this, because this is not guaranteed to see him. He might like come from this angle if he was like just farming over here, or like maybe you'll see him there, but it's just like improve your chances. Shift it a bit more over here, you'll still catch him farming here, and now you'll be able to see him farming here, which means if you're over here with an arrow, you have a higher chance of like knowing where you're shooting. So that's like a very small placement efficiency thing I would consider. Other places you could have played it, this is pretty good, honestly. Or like I said, a little further down would have been nice. And if you had started a Quelling Blade with a Treant, like you can even cut this tree and like, you know, you'll get a little bit more vision. Or you can put it, here's a cool spot. This isn't, against Meepo, it's not a good spot. But if you have a Quelling Blade for whatever reason, you can put a ward around here, cut this tree, and then you can see the rune and get a good amount of vision here. And most people at this level will not notice that you cut a tree, and that means you have a ward there. Other good places is just up here. Usually putting it like in the very common high ground spots like this is not good late in the game, but early game people don't expect it to be there so early, and especially against a Meepo who will heavily be farming these two camps, it's very good to be able to see them and have it here. And you'll even see this third camp a bit too, but nothing wrong with this one. I'm fine with this one. Just gonna throw out some options, you know. But keep in mind, you have 3 kills. You probably wouldn't have an earn for the first one, but you could have potentially had like, oh, actually the second one was the Meepo kill in the mid. But you could at least have 2 earn charges right now for the third kill you got.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
And I'm pretty confident you would have gotten all those kills even without a Ring of Basilius. Close. Nice try. He missed the fissure a little bit. I won't comment too much on it. I was going to say maybe you could realize that after he missed it, you should fire it a little lower, but it's like, whatever. You should also consider carrying Dust against a Treant. You know, there's no reason to lose free kills like that. Granted, if he goes invis and you Dust, and he can like just run through trees, it is kind of a pain, but you probably do want to start carrying it soon.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
I don't think you placed this ward, but against Meepos, up here is nice because Meepo will typically run through back here to jungle, and that way you'll see him jungling, and then you'll also see this camp. Or placing it like something like this. Let me see if I can, yeah, something like here, to spot out these 2 camps again for the arrows and all that. Here, at this point of the game, like this spot is not that useful to see. Like, yeah, it gives rune vision, but Meepo does not typically run through here. He runs through here or through back here, and so up here is not so useful. Treant is not a hero that ganks, and if he does gank, he does not go through here, so that's also not useful. So placing the ward even like lower a bit would be much better. Again, I know you didn't place this one, but I'm just gonna throw it out there because these kind of like small efficiency warding things are the difference between. It's one of the many differences between 4 and 5k. And then finally, another thing: if you think of a Meepo player as a Smurf and not just someone playing Meepo in your bracket, I highly recommend buying a lot of sentries and blocking his camps. Just because by the time he realizes it's blocked and by the time he can get another sentry out there, maybe you've caused like 2 spawns to be blocked. In which case that would have been about like 200 to 300 gold for him that you have now blocked for 75 gold. And he now has to spend 75 gold. 200 to 300 per 4-2 cams is probably a little high, but we'll add in the sentry cost, and now he has spent money to clear up something you've blocked. So your money has been well spent. He's lost money. He's now spent some money. And most camps cannot be fully dewarded with 1 sentry, which is like if you place them in one of these corners, they kind of have to choose. If they put a sentry here, it'll cover like these 3 corners, but not this one. So you should place like a sentry here. And if you want to block this one, place it like somewhere at the top so that if he tries to be efficient and place it here, hoping to deward both of these, he's now missed both of them. Or if he does happen to realize, oh, I need to block both of them, he places it here, gets this one, but now has to buy a second sentry to come deward this one. And you don't need to block like every single camp. Like on this side, you don't need to block all of these, but I would block 1 or 2 like here and there. So like these 2 are hard camps. So I would block this hard camp because it's very efficient to move your Meepo between these 2 camps, or these 2 camps, or these 2 camps. But now this one's gone, and so I don't know if you've ever played Meepo or a micro hero, but you tend to like shift queue your commands. So he tells the Meepo, come here, kill this one, then come here, kill this one. And then he focuses on his main Meepo. And then suddenly he notices, hey, why isn't my other Meepo doing anything? Oh, this camp is empty. Now I have to move it down here. He's wasted a couple seconds. He has to go through that whole sentry purchasing ordeal that I just talked about. And like, it's good, okay? So like, block this camp, and then maybe you could block this one, or this is a hard camp, so it's probably a little more effective. Put it back here. That's super annoying to deal with. Small stuff like that. I wouldn't do this one generally because it's a medium camp and because it's quite easy for you to steal this camp, especially if you're on this side. You just like send an arrow, boop, got it. Similar with this one, like you're somewhere over here, very safe, boop, steal some creeps. How are we on time? 30 minutes. That's not too bad. We're only at 9 minutes, but I think this is a short game.
Are those cracks in Dyer's top tower?
Speed up again. What's happening? He's level 5, huh? That's not ideal. 8 and 8 is not a bad spot to be in against a Meepo. You're doing very well. So I would say 2 of these kills could be earned charges and 1 of these assists. Rubik's doing okay. Your team's off to a decent start, but they're actually in the lead a bit gold-wise. Are you guys just not last hitting well? Yeah, it's not last hitting the best. But he's been roaming, and that's kind of the trade-off. But Meepo is a hero that just tends to farm better than most people. Slow down a bit. I'm going to assume that was a replay bug. That's something. I'm not saying Ern would have gotten that kill, but it would have come close. If you see her invis like this, I would walk up to break her blur. Don't let her just get that for free. Don't let her jungle for free with it, because it lasts like, what is it, 40 seconds? 25 seconds. It's still a long time. Don't give it to her for free. But getting the runes is actually probably a worthwhile expenditure of time, so. Get away. Yeah, you can't kill her on your own unless you happen to land an arrow from afar. So you're building Urn, or I'm sorry, you're building Freudian Slip. You should be building Urn, but you're building Windlace. You're building Yules. I'm not a huge fan of Yules. I know it is like a pretty common item on a lot of support Miranas to set up their arrows. In this case, I don't think it's necessary. So the benefit of Yules for Mirana is that gives you all the mana regen, which is very nice. But typically if you have a Basilius and an Arcane Boots plus a magic stick, and if you had an Urn with raindrops, That kind of covers your mana needs for a lot of all intents and purposes. So that part's not so good. The active is very useful for you, so that when you can't leap because you've been rooted or something, you purge it, and then you can leap away, silence, leap away, so on. And then more importantly, it's a guaranteed stun, essentially. If you have the timing down, you Yule someone, you back up a little bit, fire the arrow, and when they fall, the arrow is like in their hitbox if you've timed it correctly, and they just cannot dodge it. I don't love it just for that, though. Just because it's like, it doesn't give you any strength, it doesn't give you any armor, it just gives you a bunch of intelligence, which you don't really need. The movement speed's kind of nice, but you can leap, you know? And the guaranteed stun is good against certain lineups, but with the people on your team, you know, I feel like you have enough lineups. I was complaining about Lift level 1, but later, Lift is going to be 2 seconds, a little more even with Arcane Supremacy. Plus, he could possibly steal Stomp, he could steal Treant, either Root or his ult, and steal... And you shouldn't really be trying to steal anything from Meepo, I'll be honest. You should be trying to steal from, like, these 3 in this game. But, you know, his stuns, his roots, there's a lot of things to set up your arrow, including just blind arrowing. So I really don't feel like a Yule's is necessary. I really feel that a Spirit Vessel would be much better for you. And in fact, you'd be close to Spirit Vessel at this point, right? If you left this at Brown Boots, you'd probably still buy a Magic Stick. Let's say we don't build the Ring of Basilius because we do that build I talked about instead with like Circlet, 2 Iron Branches, so on. So maybe you have a wand, so you spent a little more money on that. But with this amount of money plus the difference between these two, you'd be close to your Soul Booster, whatever it's called, the health. Or you could have a Windlace and then a little further along get your health. But you're essentially like 1,000 gold off. That's a pretty nice arrow. I actually wasn't paying attention. Did you wait for her to last it, or was that just coincidence? Okay, so you were trying to time it there. Worked out for you. Okay. I'm happy with it. Good job. I'm also not fully used to the new arrow timing, alright? 900 movement instead of 950, so it's a little weird. I really screwed up a tri-lane the other day. I was with a Shadow Demon. It should have been super easy, but I was just like so nervous about it. I was like, oh man, I haven't done this new arrow speed. Ah! And I feel like I missed a couple. I would prefer Dust rather than Sentries. I'm assuming you have Sentries for Treant, but he's just gonna walk out of them, you know? I think Dust is a lot better. And you could have him for dewarding, I suppose. That's also true. I would buy these two first, actually. Windlace to move around more, to be more active on the map, and to just generally be faster. And then Regen, because you actually have enough mana pool with your Arcanes to sustain a round of all your spells. What you don't have, though, is that after you use all those spells, you're out of mana. And you either have to go home, or you have to, like, Arcane once or twice, and that's a lot of time. But if you get a Void Stone, that'll help you out a lot. It'll let you fire arrows more frequently, just to, like, casually farm their stuff. Good stuff. Also, I haven't seen you buy a single casual Clarity. I would really recommend that as well. Right now, you're running back home, but instead you could have just bought a Clarity with this and then bring that out to you. Between using Arcanes, that would save you a little bit. And then use the Clarity, disassemble the Arcane Boots. Okay, this is kind of... I was critiqued. They called me a madman. I think I have a video about the efficiency you can get out of disassembling your Arcane Boots. Not a lot of people do this, so I'm not going to say you have to. It's something I do, though. Disassemble your Arcane Boots, put your energy booster in here, unlock your boots, and then all you have to do if you unlock the energy booster, it'll immediately finish arcane boots in your inventory again, so there's no cooldown from the backpack. And in that time, when you have a clarity going or just general regen, it'll improve your effective regen because of the way the percentages work and the fact that energy booster is a flat mana increase instead of intelligence. Blah blah blah, it's just a little more efficient. And if you're not casting spells, then it's fine. But then you have to worry about reassembling them before you cast any spells, or else it's now inefficient for you. I don't like that you're showing in lane, especially with him in front of the lane. You want him to stun and then you follow up with an arrow. But if they see you, they're gonna know where the arrow is coming from. So you just want to be like out of sight a bit. You don't want them to know how many people are coming in. That arrow was a little hopeful. Let's back up. So we want to aim our arrows to most likely chance of hitting something. So if you fire this way, as we're going to see, it's going to miss them, and then it's just going to go over here, and nothing's happening over here. Whereas if you fire more this way, knowing which way he's going to walk, so you're firing here, the arrow goes this way, but if you fire further up, even the difference of his hitbox, like you now have a higher chance to hit people on this half. And more so than that, ideally I would have been like walking this way a bit to fire the arrow this way, so that even if it misses him, it's now climbing up this staircase and possibly hitting someone up there, as opposed to, it's unlikely anyone's in these trees. But I also don't think this arrow was quite necessary yet. You want to wait for them to go on the Earthshaker. In fact, I would have possibly preemptively fired at the Earthshaker, expecting Meepo to be here to blink in. Does Meepo have his blink yet? He doesn't. He's rushing E-Blade. I would be better than I was in this replay and make sure you know what items your team's getting and what items the enemy's getting. Maybe you knew that. Maybe that's why you didn't fire. One more leap. He's dead. It'll kill him. You don't have to watch. Focus your buddies down here. He's in trouble. Help him. You gotta know when to turn away and know that someone's dead. Yes. And sometimes that'll bite you in the ass because they'll have like a stick or something. And that's something I'm still working on, is like double checking if the enemy has like fairy fire, stuff like that. Even pros make that mistake sometimes, so don't feel bad if you mess it up a little. But like that guy was dead to that arcane bolt. You don't need to chase him. I would turn around and focus other stuff.
Radiant fortified their structures.
Yeah, you don't want to be standing next to each other like that, because they do have, stuns and that are AoE. You also don't add that much right-click damage, so like I think it's fine to stand further back and just be ready to fire an arrow in. I don't think you have to be up there hitting the tower, unless you know it's really safe to do, and it wasn't in that case.
This should make my life easier.
What are we at? 43 minutes? That's like a 100 damage mana void or something. Oh! No comment. You're not the anti-mage. It's not our focus. Having said that, let us take stock of what the enemy team has, because I haven't really seen you check, so I don't really know what they have. Double bracer, that's interesting. Still getting movement speed, that's interesting. This is an old build. Very interesting stuff here. And what's on your team? This guy's not farming well. It's not your fault though. I've already commented on your build. This is fine so far. This seems less than what it should be. Why aren't you guys farming well? I don't know. It's not your fault, strictly. Sometimes it is your fault, or it can be your fault. I'm not saying it is in this time. In this case, you have a lot of money because you have a lot of kills, and you do have like sizable amount of last hits considering the time. But they kind of like leave lanes for you, which I don't think they necessarily should. So I would say it's good that you're soaking up the farm. I think I even said this in my original post to you, that inevitably your team and their team will leave space, and it's your job to take up that space. So this is actually good that you're here. I just want to leave the warning that you should be in this point because your team made that mistake and left that space open, so you take it. But make sure that in games where they're not making those mistakes and leaving that space, that you're not then taking their space, you know? Like, let them have the resources that they should have, and if they're not taking them, then you take them. But if they're going to take them, don't steal it. And that's what usually triggers me about support Mirana, is that people just like take a bunch of farm that shouldn't be theirs. They go into a wave and star call it and take every last hit, even though it was free farm for one of the cores. Make sure you're not doing that unless you're like specifically trying to push the wave or something. You're the only one there, so on and so forth. This game, I don't have too much complaints about what I've noticed you farming anyways. Are you gonna survive? Almost. I probably also would have died there, honestly. I would say the next level play is to make sure you make it over this, which I'm sure you realize. Especially if you only have one leap, you kind of have to. But there's a good chance she would have just auto-attacked you and killed you in that time. And I think I also would have just panic leaped and thought I could leap twice and then be like, oh shit, I cannot, I am dead. In those cases though, I would say you're kind of twice now. You got caught here, you didn't die that one time that Rubik died instead, and this time you did die. But I know it's low, so you want to get it, but like when people are respawning and when people are missing, you really have to be careful about doing this stuff. Pushing things to the tower is your job, but taking the tower itself does not necessarily warrant you risking your life too much. It would be much better to just like back up, wait, see if anyone comes. If it doesn't, then just push the wave in again, back up again if it feels unsafe. Like stand over here, arrow this creep over here or something, you know? Lucky for you, they're not denying it. I guess they're hoping Treant's gonna heal it, which I guess he could. It's level 1. Alright, where are you? Sorry. What are you doing right now? Speed up a little. The thing about replays is I tend to not look at the minimap as much because I'm like watching specifically what you're doing, but because of that, I should be watching the minimap more because that kind of tells me where you should be, as opposed to like how you're doing what you're doing. Alright, let's speed up while we don't know where this guy is.
Battle resumes. Dyer's bottom tower is being chipped away. Looks like Dyer fortified the structure.
If you position yourself here, their creeps are always going to be around this tower, which means if you want to hit anyone, an arrow straight down is going to be very difficult to hit. So you either need to be in these trees where you can angle it more and it's less expected because it'll suddenly just come out of trees, or you're over here and firing it where you can also dodge these creeps, and to an extent it'll also come out of the trees. I would prefer this side because it allows you more mobility as opposed to like being in these trees. But it kind of depends on the situation. I'll leave that open to you. But just being straight down the lane will make it very difficult to hit an arrow. And again, like the arrow you fired this way, if you miss your target, where's it going? Into this river, where it's unlikely to hit anyone. Whereas if you fire this way or this way, you know, there are probably people standing in the back, and you either get vision of them with your arrow or you hit them. So it's all about maximizing the chance of like what your arrow can hit and putting it at an angle that gives it the best chance of not colliding with any creeps or I think it was a good idea, except for the fact that they had a treant. And if there's a treant and you want to defend your towers and you know it's like This is a committed siege. Like, this whole... Like, everyone's here, kind of. You have to put a sentry down somewhere here. Because this is where Treant's going to be. Thinking about where he plays. He can play in these trees and then, like, walk back here. That's also possible. In which case, I would say you should put down a sentry or something back here. Or maybe over here. It's kind of not worth as much back here, though, because it's, like... It's very unlikely. Putting a sentry here is, like... better for your team and allows you to play on this side instead of like this side. I don't know how to say it the best, but essentially you have to pick one. You have to put a sentry down to spot Treant. Yeah, and you had them, or maybe you bought these after you died. Still need to buy dust though against this guy.
Radiant's top tower deserves just as much help as Bond. Radiant's top tower is under attack. Long.
So that's the other thing. That tower was low. I know I said you shouldn't die there, but you really want someone to be like prioritize pushing in the mid wave so that the creeps can chip it down and not let it get healed up. Which you're kind of here now, but ideally it would have happened sooner when the tower was like 45 health, you know? Getting this mid tower would have been worth trading for this bottom one. So instead of like going bottom, you guys just get mid. That would have been good. How do I feel about this? This is very safe farm for a core to get, which they kind of need right now because they're not farming well. None of them are here right now, though. And like I just said, you do want to push into the tower, even though it's kind of healed up a lot now. I guess this is okay. But this is starting to encroach on that territory of what I said of like taking farm that should go to cores. This is like a this is a case where it's like on the line. I'll allow it this time. But you have to be careful of it. Just keep it in mind. Always be asking yourself, could a core be doing this, and is a core coming to do this? I know this is why you need to have dust. You're chasing the treant, so you quickly put down a sentry, and you block your own small camp. It's not ideal. You're also carrying all these sentries, and not that it's your fault the AM died, but you really should... You have to pick one side or the other to secure for one of your cores. The one that needs to farm, which in this case is AM. Personally, I would say you pick this bottom half, so then you place several sentries around here to make sure it's safe, which you guys kind of have. Or you place them up here. But see, like, you still have room to put, like, sentries at this entrance or something there to spot out Treant actually walking in the first time. You always need to try to secure one of these halves. And usually it's this mini jungle because it's easier to secure, and that's where the ancient camp is, which is worth the most. Okay. Now, I don't think you guys should have been able to do that, but... Okay, what are you buying now? This is a very weird purchase. The reason Mirana's bought Blink before was because they were going the Ags build. And you blink on top of someone, double stars call. And this was when the Ag Starstorm... I think it still did the extra hit. I'm pretty sure it did, which means you were getting 4 hits. Which is a lot. But you don't have Ags. It doesn't do that extra damage now. And I just don't think it's, like, very good. yes, it can position you into like the perfect arrow, but I think it's more important for you to just position yourself by walking there. I would much rather this be a force staff. I think I already explained why force staff is good.
Double kill.
Skywrath loves taking arrows. This camp is also a little bit encroaching on taking farm that your cores need. Especially because you didn't clear it in time. So now it's not here for another 50 seconds. Someone comes to farm here. Let's say he comes to farm. Earthshaker can't actually do Ancients, which means he spends time walking down here, and there's no hard camp. And now he can only do a medium camp. The AM can do both of these, but he would also like to do the hard camp, because he can farm very fast. Same with the Underlord. Underlord can actually do Ancients to an extent. I'm kind of okay with this, because the enemy team is pushing in now, and there's a chance that they take it when they leave. But I'm going to point it out as something to be careful of, that you could potentially be taking farm from people who need it here. I think that's an unnecessary risk to do something like that. For all you know, what is he building actually? Is he the 5? I guess so. I'm so confused. Yeah, he has a blink. He has a blink. She can blur blink. He can be invis. And it's just like a very unnecessary risk to like coyly hit him with an arrow, auto attack, and then blink away. What does it accomplish? It doesn't really accomplish anything, and you risk your life to do that. So I would not do that. You know, think about risk reward. Is an arrow and an auto attack worth potentially dying for? Force staff in there? Maybe he lives. Probably still dies, but maybe. Force staff this guy? Oh, he's alive anyways because he ulted. Force staff this guy? He's pretty tanky. He might live anyway. No, you can't look away that far. Okay, where are you? Let's slow down here. So there's that easy arrow I was talking about. This is why Underlord's pretty good against what's his name, because you can see, because you can do a bunch of AoE damage that does health based. Alright, what are we looking at right now? There's an entire fight going on, and I can't see any of it. And I know you're trying to get away, and now it's even more. You can't move! It doesn't matter how far you click, you know? Whether you click here or here, your character is still trying to move the same amount. But you can't move right now. And so right now you're up here and you have no idea what's happening. You have to watch the fight. I use middle mouse to move it, which I think for me works a lot. If you want to use edge panning, that's fine too. But, you know, move up here, click once or twice, your character will try to move there as soon as they're unrooted, and then you can look back down here to see what's happening. See which Meepo is getting low. What items can you use? Do you need to drop a sentry to spot Trian in these sides? If you had a force staff, can you force staff anyone to save their life? Can you, in this case, Yules anyone to buy them some time? Yules the PA who blinks in or something. Arcanes, sure, you know, but Soul Vessel, you know, is there a Meepo who's dying? Can you Spirit Vessel this guy? He would take a lot of damage from Spirit Vessel. You know, he's getting up there. And combined with Firestorm, like, it does a lot. And then he won't heal from all of these Meepos also hitting with Ransack. It's very important. Whichever Meepo is lowest, put it on him. But, like, right now, there's a fight going on and you do not know it. Like, your only thought is getting away, as opposed to how can I change this fight? Like, what's happening? Do you know you just got stunned by Centaur? Now you do. So this position is better. You can see a little bit. arrow. Yeah, that's the other thing you gotta see. You gotta be like looking for where people are to know to arrow. There's nothing you can do to save that guy. Oh, I guess you were trying to use one of them. But it wouldn't... I don't think it would matter, even if you do, so that's kind of one of those like risk-reward things. If you get stunned there, you'll probably just die. Okay. Spirit Vessel any one of these Meepos, he'll probably die.
The phantom strikes.
They're unstoppable.
Poor Ruben.
This is Gabe Newell. Thanks for playing Dota 2. Double kill. You are a millennial. I'd say wicked sick.
The barracks may be Dyer's bottom barracks have fallen.
I know it feels over at this point. Is it? Earthshake is dead. Battle Fury Manta. This guy's really good at holding lanes. And he's really good at holding mega creeps too, actually. I would say you're not fully done yet.
Dyer's middle tower just went down.
Now, chasing out like this, that's no good. Does get a kill. See how much he's healing? Let's look at that again.
Thanks for playing Dota 2.
He was taking damage during that and he still healed like 300. So imagine Soul Vessel, Spirit Vessel, damn it. Spirit Vessel reducing that healing and doing damage to him. Like, it's just like, it's a really good item against Meepo and many other heroes. Wait, where is he? Pipe.
Dyer's middle barracks have fallen. You really don't want
I'm thinking if you should have gotten Greaves, but I don't think so. I think that's something for this guy if he had farmed a little better to get. I think Spirit Vessel and Force Staff would have been your items. Which is essentially what you could have with this amount of money. Those two. As a third item, you know, if you hadn't been about to lose right now. Would Greaves be appropriate at this point? Maybe. If you knew Underlord wasn't going to get it, but I kind of feel like he's going to if he didn't lose here. This is a tough call. Lotus Orb might be worth it to dispel some of these roots. This silence. Return some daggers, some double edges, some Qs, some all of that. It's not the best item though. BKB, kind of okay, honestly. It makes him do nothing. He still does like half of what he does, but a BKB makes him a lot less scary. I'm not that worried about him. BKB against this guy. Halberd maybe against the PA. That's not too bad, but it's kind of weird for you to get. Maybe you could get the Greaves and he could get a Halberd. Or do you need to build damage in this game? Do you though? If the AM actually comes online, if he had farmed better and came online, then I don't think he would have needed damage per se. Aeon to prevent bursting? Glimmer Cape might have been okay. Did Rubik get one? He did not. Oh, he's also building Yule. That's really unnecessary for both of you. Vlad's, maybe. Oh, Solar Crest is probably pretty good too. That's not bad. You guys don't make the best use of it, but it doesn't hurt to have. These are just kind of like the team fighting items you want. I think like Spirit Vessel, Force Staff, and then maybe a Greaves if he wasn't building it. Just like do it so that he can build something else like Shiva's or something. If it wasn't for the Underlord, I would say Greaves. But since he's here, it's hard. But we won't worry about that anymore because this game's done. Hour and 5 minutes. Let's look at the end screen just a little bit real quick. It's real dark outside. I think it's gonna thunder. Oh, now some of the portraits are loading in. So yeah, all ancient one. Was this guy a Smurf? Previous rank Divine. Divine 30 on the old system or the new system? I don't think he was a Smurf. Having said that, he's now Ancient 5. Actually, this seems wrong. That might be like a support MMR thing or something. I don't know what that's about. Doesn't really matter if he was a Smurf. He honestly, like, it didn't play that well. I don't really think he's a Smurf, but I'm not sure what a Smurf at this level would look like. I haven't played down here in a bit, so like even if he was actually Divine, you know, that would be technically a Smurf to play in Ancient 1. But ultimately, I think everyone here is roughly the same skill level, and not worrying about the rest of your team, your itemization could use some work. That's the most common thing, honestly, is like between 4 and when I play between 4 and 5k, because I did go through there a bit. I went on like a big tilt losing streak at one point. I dropped from like 5.2 to like, I think I almost dropped below 4k actually. It was like extremely depressing for me, and I like slowly climbed all the way back up. And a big difference is like very poor drafting, people picking like losing matchups for themselves, demanding last pick, and then choosing a losing matchup that they were clearly not like well experienced with a hero to then like beat a losing matchup. They would just straight up pick a losing matchup and then lose that matchup hard. So bad drafts and then bad itemization was also quite common. And so in your case, these are not the worst Mirana items. Blink is a little weird for a support, I will say. But Yule's, like, that's pretty common for a support Mirana. But it's not considering what you need in this game, which is what I feel like I noticed in a lot of my games when I wasn't at 5k and I was down to 4k. And even in 5k it happens sometimes, but not as much. Is that you've now started to understand these basic builds that heroes do, but you're not switching it up for the game. So like you have people playing Lifestealer and they're always getting Midas, Radiance, whatever, because that's what they see all the pros do. That's the optimal build. But they don't adjust and realize this game I need to play really fast. I need Deso Armlet right off the bat. I don't have time for anything else. This is a game that's decided by 20 minutes. People aren't realizing that. They're not realizing, oh, an early Halberd on my Kunkka will wreck their single snowballing right-click core. They're not building Spirit Vessel in a game where it's needed. They're not building whatever. So that's really a big difference between 4 and 5k, is the having the right items and skill builds for the game. And your skill build was fine. Having said that, Mirana's skill build doesn't really ever change depending on the game. You always go Sacred Arrow, Leap, Starstorm, ult, yeah, all this. 200 health, -5 Sacred Arrow. I have no reason to doubt you would have picked the wrong talents later on, but just to cover it real quick, for 20, Spell Amp is pretty common on support because you really just don't right-click that much. And the level 25, I'm pretty sure the -70 Moonlight is better overall, because then it drops to a 30-second cooldown with an 18-second duration. So there's only 12 seconds where you're not invis, which is actually absurd. But landing a lucky arrow when you have at the late game where 5 seconds of stuns is pretty much a kill. Sometimes I see I feel like 3 is not bad because you just have to land that one lucky arrow and the game's kind of decided whether you're visible or not. But generally, I think 70 seconds is better, especially if it's a close game with a lot of map movement still, as opposed to like a turtling game. If it's a turtling game, maybe the multi-shot is better. Yeah, you were farming pretty well, but like I just don't think your gold was going into effective items. Now, having said that, would buying Soul Vessel and Force Staff win you this game? Probably not. Because I'm not sure exactly where it happened because we were watching you and not these guys, but their farm is just not up to par with these guys. And sometimes that just happens, you know, rough games and all that. But in terms of you know, self-improving the build, make sure your gold is going into what it needs to. And if you had spent a bit more time, remember how I was talking about at the very start of the game, to position yourself so that you can take big creeps on their enemy jungle, and then you can also potentially go on Centaur or go on Meepo. That whole chasing Meepo into the jungle early level, that would be very effective for you to slow down Meepo, which is very good. There's 2 ways to shut down the Meepo. Is to like slow him down a bunch, which is very good. Get your cores like higher up so that Meepo never super snowballs. But ultimately, it's pretty hard to stop a Meepo from eventually getting a lot of farm. And then in that case, it becomes very much about quickly killing him and solo targeting at least one of them. You don't always need to have AoE damage. You know, you can just like Deso, Spirit Vessel, Laguna, this one Meepo, and then all of them die. That's why you need the Spirit Vessel. And so that way, your hero can do both. You can chase down the Meepo to slow him down, and then when you fire that random arrow and Spirit Vessel it, and everyone focuses it, that, you know, that's your job, more or less, is to set up that single Meepo kill. And so that would have helped improve your chances to win a lot, too. The laning items, that could have helped a bit, but ultimately your lane went fine. You know, you may have to adjust later on as you increase MMR, but for now it seemed your laning went fine, even though you went like 1 Tango, Basilius, which I mean isn't the worst build. I just don't love it against these two, where I think they can outtrade you if you don't play it properly, or they screw up or something. Also, I didn't expect you to try lane, which if you know you're tri-laning, I actually do like Basilius an okay amount, because you can always steal regen from your teammates if you need it, and because your teammates can bring in like the sentries or something if you need them. But I don't love it. I don't know. I'm still adjusting to it too. The Basilius change was kind of recent, so maybe it'll end up being worth it rushing it like that on certain heroes like Mirana. I'm not fully sure, so I guess don't quote me on it. But overall, you know, I don't think this game was strictly something you could change alone, but you definitely have a lot of room to improve, and very much, you know, improve yourself, and it'll show. It's hard to necessarily see, but it'll work out. Do I have anything else to say? Bought some of the wars, it's not too bad. Oh, dust, you want the dust. I said that enough times. Yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching.